Welcome, welcome. We'll get started here in just a moment. So welcome. Give me a thumbs up and maybe type in where you're from today. Type in where you're from in the chat. Let us know where you're at today. I love it. We got Reno, Nevada. Excellent. Barbados. Love it. Gonna have to come visit. Rochester, New York. Des Moines. California. Trinidad. Woohoo. Guyana. Whoa. Montana, Portugal. Love it. We got all kinds of folks here from around the world. Wonderful. We'll keep letting some folks in. We'll get started here in just a moment. Very good. Very good. I don't know about you, but I cannot believe it is the middle of November. Not only where did the month go, but where did the year go? And we're having a great time, and we're going to have a great meeting here today. I'm glad you're all joining us. We still have quite a few coming in. We got Dakota City. Love it. Keep coming in. I'll give you another 30 seconds and then we'll get started. Thanks again for everyone joining us. Just a few more seconds. Still see more folks coming in. All right. Well, I want to start off with saying the world and every business has gone through unprecedented change in the last 18 months. Unprecedented times. You know, every business has uncertainty in front of us, and the great resignation is occurring. What that tells me is leadership and management is needed more than ever before. Welcome. Glad you're joining us. My name is Monty Wyatt. I'm the CEO of AddingZEROS, a global executive development firm, and we help CEOs and executive teams bring clarity to how they think, how they implement, and how they align their organizations. The title of our webinar today is Strategic Planning No Longer Works. And we have 4 topics that we're going to share today. The first one is I'm going to define for you our definition of a great and successful business. And I want to make sure that definition challenges you a little bit. We're going to talk about the difference between leadership and management and why both of them are needed more than ever. And the third point is we're going to talk about planning. And planning isn't enough. Strategic planning isn't enough. We're going to talk about how to change our viewpoint and change our actions to get the results that we're after. And the last opportunity for the day is going to show you how each of you and your organizations can take advantage of a couple great things to help you move forward in your organization. So I just want to take a few moments, give you a little history lesson on myself before we jump in. I am an Iowa farm boy in the central United States. I grew up raising corn and soybeans and pigs, and I went and studied agricultural business. And I worked for a global manufacturer for 14 years, had positions of sales training, sales management, marketing management, really touched every aspect of the business. During that time, it kept me away from my number one passion. So I want to just share them with you. My family, I have 3 amazing daughters that just keep me focused and keep me moving forward. In the middle there, you see Katie. She is a 21-year-old studying industrial engineering at Iowa State. On her left is Allison. She is 19 and she is studying data science at Iowa State. And on the right is Janie, and she's my sophomore in high school. And she just finished her diving season and she did fantastic. She just made it to the state meet in diving. So they are my number one passion. I love spending time with them and doing activities with them. My second passion is helping others succeed. Now, I just shared my different roles in that global organization. It helped me see the business in different lights and helping everyone from our distribution system to our retailers to our internal customers how to think differently. And for the last 17 years, I've been working with CEOs, executive teams, coaches around the world to help them in their thought process to get new and different results by changing the way they think and how they implement. So these are my two passions. This is why I'm here today. I want to first challenge you. You should know what your passions are so you can live them out and make sure you're helping the world with them. All right, to jump into the content, my first question for you is, how would you define a successful business? I'd love for everyone to type in one or two words into the chat of what would you use to define a successful business? What words would you type in? Go ahead and type them into the chat. How would you define a successful business? You got to make money while you sleep. I love that one. Employee engagement. It's profitable. Very good. Thank you, Brian, for that one. Efficient and profitable. I like that. Sustainable. Very good. I love those. Profitable while serving customers and employees. Energized organization. I love every one of them, and they just keep coming through. Positive cash flow. You name it. I love every one of those. And I think somewhere in my definition, they all fit. And I want to introduce that to you. To me, a great business is achieving success by being these 5 things. Number 1, they're sustainable. Number 2, predictable, stable, consistent, and has an emotional connection. Here's what I mean. When I talk about sustainability, what I mean is it's going to be here long term. The decisions that we make today should outlast every one of us. That makes it a sustainable business. We're doing things for the long term. We're making the best decisions for the future. Predictable means we know when we do action A, we get result B. We can predict the future because we've recognized our trends. Our data helps us predict where we're going. Stable is all about our people. We have high engagement, high retention, and we have low turnover because that's what people want. You want to go where you know the people and it's enjoyable, both internal and external. The next word, consistent. Whether you're internal or external, people know what to expect from that organization. As a team member, I know what to expect from those I work with. As a customer, I know what to expect when I interact with that company, no matter who I talk to. And the last point, a great business that's successful has an emotional connection. What I mean by that is that people love who we are and why we do what we do. Again, both internal and external. Our people love who we are and why we do what we do. So that's a powerful statement. So here's what I would love everybody to think about. Which one of those areas is your organization the strongest? You know, think about that definition. Which area are you strong in? Which area do you need to improve on? We're going to touch on one or two of those areas today as we talk about strategy. Okay. The second piece that I want to add about a great business is that it also adds zeros. The name of our organization is AddingZEROS, and our focus is to help companies add zeros, not just in revenue and profit, but in every area of their business, whether it's engagement with their team, it's retention of employees or retention of customers, or it's satisfaction of customers. We want to focus on what are the areas that we want to multiply. What are the areas that we want to improve? A great business is always improving, not just revenue and profit, but every area of their business. I'm going to touch on that here again in a little bit. To achieve this definition of a great business, it takes leadership and management. And I really believe that the world is doing a disservice around defining the two words of leadership and management. We are using them as they are one and the same. We're saying our managers are leaders. We're saying that leaders have to be our managers, but it's not necessarily the same. I want to define for you, and I want you to write this down next. Leadership creates focus and passion. Management creates competence and productivity. I want you to think about that for a second. Leadership is a behavior. We create focus and passion with our energy, with our time, with our words. Management creates competence and productivity, meaning as a manager, it is my responsibility to ensure that my employees are competent to do their job and they're also productive in their job. I want to state it a little bit differently. Leadership brings positive emotion. Management brings logic and results. I said earlier, we need leadership and management more than ever. Whether it's COVID, whether it's working from home, whether it's, government changes, you name it, we need both. Leadership helps cast a vision of where we're going, why we're going there, and the benefit. Management is ensuring that we have the ability to do that, that we are following through on what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. The next phrase I want you to write down that relates to this: we lead people and we manage processes. We lead people and manage processes. There's not one of us that's on this webinar around the world that wants to be managed. No one wants to be managed. We want to be led. We lead people by inspiring them, by casting focus, by being passionate about something. We manage a process to ensure that people are trained, that we're efficient, that we are following through on what needs to be followed through on. Now, there's two aspects of both of these items. We have to lead ourselves, and I do believe we have to manage what we do every day. So thinking of ourselves first, how am I leading my process? How am I planning my days? How am I managing myself, my to-dos, my results that I'm after? What's your dashboard look like? We have to have that for ourselves first. And secondly, we have to have both for our team. We lead people, we manage processes. So here's what I'd love quite a few of you to do. Again, type into the chat box. I want you to rate yourself 0 to 10 on how well you are at being a leader based on this definition, and 0 to 10 how well you are at management based on this definition. So go ahead and type in how you see yourself. I love it. Leadership an 8. Love to hear that. Very good. Keep them coming. Love to see those. Management 8. We got a little lower, a little 6, a 7. Not too bad though. Very good. 7s. Whatever your numbers are, my challenge to you is identify routines that you are going to do for both. A leadership routine can be how you give kudos, how you say thank you. A management routine could be how you are ensuring that we're getting the results we need by the activities that are done every week. Find your routines for both leadership and management. That's the power of this, is being intentional with being a leader and a manager. Now, I bring up leadership and management as we talk about strategic planning. And I said this to begin, strategic planning no longer works. And it takes leadership and management to make a difference in where we're headed and how we're doing things. Now, I'm saying strategic planning no longer works for a couple reasons. I've done it in my corporate life. I've done it for years. The planning process is valuable. It's the execution that's missing. And I want to give you a new perspective on that today to get you new results. And when I say the execution is missing, this is the graphic that comes to mind. There is a gap between what we plan strategically and how we truly get things done. And there is a lot of money left on the table because we're not truly implementing or executing what we planned on achieving. And that's the power of the concept that I'm going to teach you. And that concept is this statement right here: strategic thinking, execution planning. Now, instead of strategic planning, I want you and your executive team and your team members to learn how to think strategically. What I mean by that is every decision that we make, every action that we take, we see how it's connected to the big picture. We see how it's helping us take us to the future of the organization. And secondly, we have to plan for implementation and execution, meaning that we are aligned with our priorities. We're aligned together on who's doing what by when to achieve the results that we're after. So I want to give you a little more insight. When I think of strategic thinking, I think about asking the hard questions. Critical thinking is a major topic, and it is learnable. It is a skill and can be a process that you follow. It can be the questions that we need to be asking. So we have to identify some questions. I'm going to share a few of those tough questions here in just a moment. But the second key component is we have to teach our team, teach our executives, teach our team members how to think differently. In today's world, with everything uncertain and changing and you name it that's challenging us, we have to think differently. And in order to do that, we have to ask ourselves bigger and better questions. So we have to be more proactive. We have to anticipate things that are coming. And we may identify different scenarios. That is thinking strategically. The second part of that, execution planning, is about discipline. When you plan for execution, that means we are identifying our bottlenecks. We're identifying what we need to do differently in our decision making to get that result that we're after. But it's also about ensuring that we're aligned in our priorities and our actions every single week, every single month, and we adjust that execution. The results shouldn't change. The goal stays the same. Our actions of execution should adjust if we're not achieving it. So I said execution planning takes discipline. How do we achieve strategic thinking and execution planning? It takes discipline. I want to introduce to you 5 disciplines that every organization needs to get right so they can grow and be successful to that definition that I gave earlier. I'm going to go around counterclockwise. We have the discipline of strategy, and we're going to talk about those 4 bullets here in just a moment. Business development is another discipline, so we're consistent. That creates predictability. When we know we do action A, we get result B. People are so important to our business. It's a discipline all by itself. How are we creating leaders? How are we developing them for the next job? And how are we attracting the right audience that we want to recruit as our future team members? That creates stability. Execution is a discipline all by itself. How are we managing the business? What are our processes? How do we manage our financials? The 5th discipline is mission. I'm not talking about a mission statement here. I'm talking about who we are, our values, our purpose. How do we engage with the communities that we're in throughout our organization? That creates emotional connections. Those are 5 disciplines that every organization needs to focus on to improve. Now, there's some more words in the center that I want to point out, and I'm calling those our 5 constituents that businesses must satisfy. And oftentimes, most businesses only focus on, say, the investors. We're after a share price, or we're after a return on an asset. We have to look at each of these constituents and ask ourselves, how are we doing? What do we need to change and improve at? So the first constituent at the top is the company. We have to ensure that the company will be here long term. They are the number 1 constituent. I'm going to go counterclockwise again. Customer is another constituent. We have to make sure they're satisfied. If they're not satisfied, the future of our business is in trouble. The next constituent is the team. We have to satisfy the team. And in many cases, if the team isn't satisfied, the customer won't be satisfied. The next constituent is the stakeholder. These could be our investors, our board of directors, our executive team that's driving the business. And the last constituent is the community. We have a duty as an organization, as we grow, to give back to our communities, to add jobs, to help the growth of our communities over time. Those are the 5 constituents that you need to think about differently to get the growth that you want. When all of these things happen, we truly do add zeros in every aspect of the business. And today, I want to talk about strategy. But I need to give a selfless plug here for a second. These 5 disciplines you can find in the book, Pulling Profits Out of a Hat, and you can find that on Amazon. So please check that out. It goes in depth into all 5 of those disciplines. We're going to talk about strategy here for the next few minutes. And when I think of strategy, I mentioned earlier, it is about asking the hard questions. It's about anticipating. It's about thinking differently. There are 4 areas of questioning that I want to teach you to help you get your thought process different around strategic thinking: opportunity, leverage, scalability, and marketability. So we're going to start with opportunity. Before I even go into opportunity, I want to say one more thing. This is strategy for the organization, not just a product strategy. This is an organizational strategy. So as we think about the opportunity, what is the want or need in the market that we as a company, we as an organization are choosing to fill? Meaning that we are identifying a need or a gap in the market that we are going to focus on to help, assist, and add value to. That opportunity has to be clear, and I want you to get the word right, and it's choose. We choose what opportunity we're filling in the market. We can't go after everyone. We want to go after a specific opportunity and fill it. Then we go to our products and services. Then we go to new geographies. But we need to choose and define what are the wants and needs that we're choosing to fill. This is that first tough question I want you to answer as an organization. So it is clear and everybody knows this is the opportunity that we are going after. The second critical word of strategic thinking is leverage. The simplistic definition of leverage is we get more done with less effort. Think of a manufacturing facility. You build the manufacturing facility once, you use it over and over to create more. Or a rental company, you buy a certain piece of equipment and you rent it over and over again, and you bought it once. Technology is great leverage. Every organization needs to identify what are our current points of leverage, where it's internal efficiencies, helping us internally get more done with less effort, or get in front of our target audience more effectively with less effort. That's points of leverage. So you identify your current points, but then you also need to think about where should we be adding points of leverage. All right, I admit it, I watched a movie on Netflix this weekend. Netflix has great leverage. They can stream millions of movies at the same time around the world. Okay, well, now you start to add brand new movies. That's great leverage. They're still in the theater and they're on Netflix. That is great leverage for people to watch on Netflix instead of going to the theater. That is getting more done with less effort for your audience, for you as a company, and financially. So the first word is opportunity. We're choosing to fill a want or need in the market. The second point of strategic thinking is leverage. How do we get more done with less effort? The third point of strategy is scalability. Now, there's 2 ways I want you to look at this. One is, what is our ability to duplicate in a new market or a new geography? Or secondly, how easily could we grow sales exponentially? And if you can answer yes or no to those, then you have, if you can answer yes, then you have scalability. If you can answer no, then we really have to look at how do we duplicate? What can we put into place to help us grow exponentially in a new market, in a new geography? What do we need to do to handle that? So scalability, again, is how do we duplicate? It could be a different state, a different country, a different language, different market. That's scalability. As you think about strategy, that is the critical point of growth, is scaling. How do we go to that next level? Can we handle another 10,000 customers? Can we handle another 10 million of business, another 100 million of business effectively and efficiently? That is scalability. The fourth word is marketability. Marketability, again, 2 points here. It's the ease of accessing your audience. I want to talk about that for just a moment. The ease of accessing our audience. Are there enough people that fit that target audience or that are in that opportunity to get us the results that we want? And how easy is it to get in front of them? So is there enough, and how easy can we get in front of them? The second point of marketability is the ease of communicating what we do. It's interesting. I've worked with a client for a number of years, and when we first started working, this was one of my first questions was, tell me what you do. And I went around the room of executives and they gave me different answers, and they were kind of confused of saying, well, tell me what we do. Again, this is an organizational message. What do you do? And if we can't communicate it clearly as executives, our team members are going to have the challenge as well. These points are a part of strategy. So opportunity, the need or want in the market that we're filling. Leverage, how do we get more done with less? Scalability, how do we duplicate, or how do we add greater revenue with less effort? And marketability, the ease to access that audience or the ease to communicate. When we answer these 4 questions, we create our strategy, because that's going to help us define how are we going to win. So here's my encouragement that I want everyone to think about, and I'm going to give you a challenge here in a moment. I want you to be able to state your organizational strategy in 1 sentence. Now, that 1 sentence, everybody in the company should say the same sentence. I want to give an example of this because I think it is powerful once it is completed. So I want to use the example of Southwest Airlines, and they created this 1 sentence strategy in the early 70s when they began. Their 1 sentence strategy is known by every employee, and this strategy statement helps every employee guide their actions to achieve it. Their 1 sentence strategy is wheels up. What that means is we're not growing, we're not making money, we're not adding value unless the planes are in the air. So if I am loading the luggage, I have to make sure I do it accurately and timely because the flight has to leave on time. If I am checking in passengers, I have to make sure that I am doing it efficiently so we can, again, leave on time so we can have wheels up. That 2 words helps them make many of their decisions. If that's our strategy, we want to be in the air. We can't make money unless we're in the air. They have the same type of plane. They have mechanics that know how to manage those planes. They are in hubs that they can manage well. So it is a powerful thing, and it drives decision making. My challenge here is defining how will you win. In order to get to how you will win, it is about strategic thinking. We have to answer those questions that I just posed to you. We have to bring clarity to what is it that we have to do as an organization that every person is going to know and know how their role fits into it to help us win. That's a challenging question, and it may take you time to think about it, but that is the power of strategic thinking, is defining how we will win and how everyone is connected. That's my next challenge for you, is what is your one sentence strategy? How will you get that defined? And how does every position support that, so you can be working towards where you want to go and how you will win? Now, I want to state this as we've talked about strategy here for a moment. How do we know if we're making strides in strategy as a discipline? Because I want to relate this back to the 5 disciplines. On your screen, you see that there are 3 questions. This is how I would define if your strategy discipline is strong or not. The first question: is the strategy known by not only 100% of our management team, but our entire team, and they can clearly articulate our direction and plan? We've got our one sentence and we know what we need to accomplish to get there. That's that first question. Is that a yes or a no? The second question: we are clear on our discipline strategy and we're implementing it well if there's absolute clarity about our organizational priorities and everyone knows how they personally support those priorities. Everyone in an organization should be clear on their priorities. And as an organization, we should not have more than 4 to 6 priorities of how we're going to achieve the results that we're after. The third point on this slide of how do we know if we're clear on our discipline of strategy, we've identified and our team has committed to long-term goals and annual goals that support our future. We need to know long-term where we're going, but we also need to know the short-term, what are the benchmarks that we have to achieve to get there. That is the power. These 3 statements, yes or no. If you've answered yes to these, I want to congratulate you. You've put a lot of time and effort into it. And there are great companies that struggle with these points. And if you answered no, we have some options here in a moment that I'm going to share to help you bring clarity to not only your strategy, but how to fully implement and execute it. So when we get our strategy discipline right, we create a sustainable business and it's ongoing. So I've shared a ton of stuff here in the last 30 minutes. I just want to review a couple items as we come to a couple points of next steps. These 5 disciplines need to be incorporated. We've touched on one today, and it's strategy. And those 4 points help you think strategically of how do we win long term. That's the power. That's the power of what needs to be done of strategic thinking and execution planning. The execution planning piece, to me, I just said it a moment ago, everyone should have clear priorities. I also believe that everyone should have clear 90-day action plans to achieve those priorities. Who's doing what by when? It's a great accountability process. And that's the power of what we're talking about. This is an organizational process where we lead people and we manage the process. How do we get there? We review this every single quarter, every single year to make sure that we are planning. Now, planning is the biggest part of strategic planning. It's the process that makes it important. When I say strategic planning no longer works, it's that gap to execution. And again, I want to share with you a couple thoughts of how we can assist you in your moving forward. So today we've talked about that definition of success, talked about leadership and management. I've talked briefly about how planning isn't enough, and I want to talk more about that here in a moment. Strategic thinking and execution planning. When I think of this process, it has to be intentional. You have to have someone to help you think differently. It is so easy to get caught in our 100-mile-an-hour headwind of everything happening at once that we can miss things. We have a great process of facilitation that can help you with that. And today I'm going to give you 3 options of how you can take advantage of that. Actually, I'm going to give you 4. The first one, just for attending our webinar today, each of you are going to receive 6 white papers that are from my best-selling book, Pulling Profits Out of a Hat. So each of you, just for being here today, you're going to get those 6 white papers. It talks more about opportunity, leverage, strategy, and every aspect of each of those disciplines. So each of you get that today. The next option that I want to encourage you to do is our online course. We have a set of 24 videos that will go through every one of those disciplines. It's going to talk about not only the 5 disciplines, but the 5 constituents, and talk about the different areas in each discipline, giving you specific examples and some worksheets to help your organization get through that. So normally this training costs $9.99. For you attending the webinar today, it's $3.99. And I'll show you this link on the bottom of the screen again, but that is the link of how you can take advantage of the online training. So take it at your pace, do it with your team, have great discussions. That's a powerful way to help you achieve some of this progress. The second option I want to give you today and does focus on strategic thinking and execution planning, and it's time with a certified facilitator. We have certified facilitators around the globe that can help you. And this is a 2-hour session for your executive team. During that 2 hours, you're going to review a 5 disciplines assessment and understand where your priorities can be or should be to help you implement a culture of alignment and help you lead and manage your organization forward. So when you take advantage of this offer, this is a 2-hour session for your executive team. You not only get the online course that I just talked about, you get a 5 disciplines assessment, and you get the 6 white papers, but you're doing this with a certified facilitator of AddingZEROS. This is a great way to get started. So before November 30th, the price is $14.95. Normally it's $19.95. Today it's $14.95 through November 30th. The last option I want to give to you is a live 2-day event. We're doing these across the US over the next few months. In January, we're going to be in Des Moines, Iowa. In February, we're going to go to Atlanta. And in April, we're going to be in Denver. And during this 2 days, we're going to help identify and share with you a process of your long-term vision, where you want to head, how you need to act as a team to get there, what decisions need to be made to get there. We're going to help you organize and understand what are our bottlenecks and what are our barriers to achieving that. And how do we bring our team along with us to get that culture again that we desire? So again, between now and November 30th, the price is $14.95 to attend any one of these 3. And that price of $14.95 is for 2 people. So you and your number 2, or you and another executive team member, this is a powerful event where you're going to interact with other executives, other CEOs, other vice presidents, and get ideas from them as well. So that's the power. So our 3 options, number 1 is the online course. Again, want to encourage for $3.99. That is a powerful investment. The other 2 options, number 1, with a certified facilitator, 2 hours to help you think through your process of strategic thinking, execution planning, and going through that 5 disciplines assessment. And the third option is a live 2-day event of strategic thinking, execution planning. Follow these links, make your registration by November 30th. We want to help you execute and get the results that you want. We need to think strategically and plan for execution. Our goal in every one of these options is to help you do just that. Teach you to think more critically, teach you to fully execute on your plan and get the results that you are after. So I always love to challenge and say, are you adding zeros or are you adding zero? I want to thank you for joining our webinar today. And again, I will take back the slide to the links here in just a moment. But I want to thank you for joining us. You will be getting an email as follow-up. You'll get the recording of this webinar to watch again. You'll get the six white papers. And my challenge to you is to take a intentional effort of focusing on strategic thinking. Don't just make it about planning and putting it on a document and putting it on the shelf. Oh, we'll see what happens and the world changes. This is an ongoing process of strategic thinking and execution planning to help us win and get the results that you want. I want to thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate your time on a Monday. And again, here are the links, and you will get those again in the follow-up email. And again, want to say thank you to everyone and look forward to talking again soon. Have an amazing week. Take care.